I would like to start our third panel, and we have an organization called Stop a Bully. Mr. Trevor Knowlton, who is the president of the organization, and Hal Roberts, who is the vice president. And we're looking forward to your opening comments, and then we will have questions. And I certainly have the pleasure to welcome you. You're from my province, and to have anybody come from all the way from BC, first of all, it makes me very proud that you are coming from BC, but also it's not often we have people from British Columbia, so welcome. I'm just biased, so taking this liberty to welcome you. So I'm really happy to have you here.
Very much.
Mr. Knoll.
Thank you. We would first of all like to thank the Senate Committee for inviting us to Parliament Hill. It is an honor to present to you today. We know that this committee has received important information about bullying and cyberbullying already from Canada's top researchers, as well as the key individuals who are working hard to make change. It is our goal today to give you more of an insight into the serious issue of youth bullying and cyberbullying from the perspective we see providing help to students and parents in schools across Canada. I personally present to you this evening as president and founder of Stop a Bully. As well, I'm a teacher at Summerland Secondary School and a father of 3 fantastic children. It is from these roles where I gain my experience and my motivation in trying to provide assistance to students who are being bullied either at school or online. The origin of Stop a Bully can be pinpointed to one day, May 7th, 2009. It was on this day that I arrived at school to find an email that began a significant shift in my life. That morning, each staff member at our school received an anonymous email from one of our students about a bullying video. The student had emailed because they wanted to show us a video that had been passed around Facebook that evening. The attached video showed an assault that had taken place at our school grounds the previous day without any knowledge of the staff. After reading the email and watching the video several times, I was angry for 2 reasons. First of all, that this assault had taken place at our school, involving our own students. The second reason I was angry was because the student who finally had the courage to stand up and report it to staff had to go through so much trouble to simply give a heads up to what was going on. 4 days after receiving this email, I launched an online bullying reporting program which allowed any student in Canada to use if and when they needed it. Stop and Bully gives students and parents the ability to safely report bullying and cyberbullying to school officials without need of further involvement or risk of becoming a target themselves. Since launching Stop a Bully 3 years ago, I have learned more than I ever wanted to about the pain and suffering that is caused by youth bullying. Over these years, I have heard the sheer desperation from parents who are trying to protect their children, and the message since the beginning has been loud and clear. More needs to be done to stop this. As a high school teacher, I understand the great complexities of youth bullying, in particular cyberbullying. But it is imperative that all structures within our society work to ensure safety for all students. We believe strongly that Stop a Bully has proven it can be one of the tools used to help protect young people against ongoing bullying, whether it be at school or online. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts, did you want to add anything?
Yes, Madam Chair, Senators. As my colleague has indicated, we are most appreciative of the invitation to appear before this Senate committee today. We are honored that our work with the Stop a Bully program may play a role in your consideration of the complex issue of youth bullying and the evolution of cyberbullying in Canada. I appear before you this evening as a member of the Board of Directors for the Stop a Bully program, a child protection social worker for the province of British Columbia, and as a father and a grandfather. I count myself fortunate to have gained some degree of awareness about the experiences of youth in the internet age from my own children and from the children and youth that I encounter on a daily basis in my employment. For most adults, childhood bullying is shared experience from one's own developmental years. It is undeniable that many of us have at one time or another played the role of victim, perpetrator, or observer in a bullying scenario during our childhood or adolescence. Hopefully your experience in this regard, like my own, was resolved successfully. And if so, then it is likely that that positive outcome involved the intervention of an understanding adult. This traditional concept of bullying was very often tied to a school setting and is commonly termed as schoolyard bullying. Social scientists tell us that traditional or schoolyard bullying is usually marked by three characteristics: an imbalance of power between the victim and the bully, an intentional targeting of the victim, and a pattern of ongoing aggression. But what we are learning about the concept of bullying in the age of social media is that cyberbullying defies its accepted definition. Most notably, the imbalance of power between the victim and the bully is no longer strictly delineated, and the roles that children and youth play online may move quite fluidly among each of the roles of victim, perpetrator, and witness. Accordingly, many of the intervention strategies that were formerly applied with a certain degree of success with traditional or schoolyard bullying no longer apply. The truths that do stand today in common with our accepted concept of bullying intervention are these. Firstly, most incidents of childhood bullying are tied to the school experience of the involved parties. Outside of their homes, most school-aged children and youth spend a significant portion of their daily routine in some form of school setting. It goes without saying that this attendance in school will involve many aspects of their social interaction and interpersonal experiences. Secondly, the professionals involved in child development tell us that the key to amending undesirable behavior with a child is to apply a consequence immediately so that in the plasticity of their developing brain, the connection between action and outcome becomes successfully hardwired. With the Stop a Bully program, we would argue that these truths hold true when considering intervention to combat cyberbullying. By default, the school system is the only social structure that provides the physical setting to address the issue of cyberbullying. Students are regularly present in a safe and structured environment where they may have trusting relationships with skilled educators. In the relentless cycle of social media afforded by the accessibility of electronic technology, the potential for cyberbullying exists 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days per year. The immediacy for protection and intervention can realistically best be provided in the school setting, as long as the tools for identification and response can be present and accessible. This is the premise of the Stop a Bully program, and it is cited in our mission statement as follows. Stop a Bully aims to enhance and foster a school's ability to address bullying incidents in a proactive and timely manner by providing detailed reports of bullying incidents, as well as education and prevention strategies. In our testimony this evening, we hope to share with you information that may serve to convince you that our strategy has merit. We firmly believe that if given the right tools and support, then children and youth will take responsibility to combat cyberbullying. Thank you.
Thank you very much for both your presentations, and we are aware that you are a non-profit Canada-wide, you're a non-profit organization, Canada-wide program that allows students to report bullying to school officials confidentially by way of an online reporting system. How does your online reporting system work?
At this point, any student in Canada can go on the website if they're either a witness or a victim of bullying. Parents can also go online. So if they don't feel comfortable approaching their principal or teachers at their school or even their parents themselves, we're finding that a lot of students, for a number of reasons, aren't feeling comfortable reporting it to adults around them. So they can go online and submit a detailed report of what's been going on in terms of the bullying, and then that is then forwarded on to the principal of that school. And what it also allows is it gives a detailed report of not only what happened, but it gives the principal the history of what's happened. Quite often principals in their day-to-day lives, they're dealing with a minor issue that might happen in the school where it might be a name call or a push in the hallway. And they're not seeing often the big picture of what's going on. So they might deal with that on a day-to-day basis in dealing with a particular student. But in a bully report, the student that's having the issue, they're able to fill in the report and say, yes, I was pushed in the hallway today and we dealt with that, but it's been going on for 3 years. And then that changes everything for the principal. This is not just a simple push in a hallway or a name call and sort of let's get on with it and get to the next class. And seeing that bully report and seeing the history and seeing the details of what's going on, it gives a much broader perspective for the principal.
Now we know.
So this is a Friday evening. It started at 3:45 on a Friday. And students were made aware of a website that was, the sole purpose of the website was to essentially make fun and harass other students at the school. So the first report came in at 3:45 on a Friday, and there was 2 subsequent reports that came in at 5:27 and 6:06. Normally, we wouldn't know anything beyond that because we pass along the information. It's up to the principal to then deal with it. This particular principal sent out a public tweet on Twitter at 9:03 p.m. on the Friday evening, and it just says, "Thank goodness for Stop a Bully tonight. Thank you." Which was amazing for us to see because it was verification on a Friday night. Things were starting to happen. It got even better, actually. On Saturday morning at 10:04 a.m., the school principal sent out another public tweet. "Thank you, Stop a Bully, and the person who submitted the report. The site in question has been shut down." So I think that's just a perfect example of just how quickly and effectively students, when they're reporting it, and principals that are proactive. Obviously, this principal was given the names of who made this website and who was in charge of it that evening, contacted those homes, and rather than going through the weekend and having this website spread, it was shut down by Saturday morning.
Our second initiative is to, if we have a successful join request from a school, then we provide a package of material to them with the hope that they'll take a look at creating a safe environment. And we've heard this afternoon, we've heard a number of times the concept of the whole school environment by engaging the school administration, the staff, the teachers, the students, the parents, the parent advisory committees, that we hope that we can influence them to create a safe environment for the reporting and possibly to address the prevention aspects.
First of all, any student can use it irregardless of any school. I wanted, when I originally built the program, I wanted to ensure that irregardless of what the adults think in terms of if bullying is an issue in their school, if a student in that school needed to report something that was going on and they were in serious need, that the program would be there to use.
Is it only the principal who can resolve the situation?
Well, in our view, the principal is the final filter in the Stop a Bully process, that we're providing this information to them. And it's their school, their students, they know the population. It's up to them to actually address it once we give them the information.
Thank you very much. This is absolutely excellent program that you have. And I guess my question to you is that education is a provincial responsibility, and I want to ask you about, in British Columbia, whether or not you have approached school boards so they can make it mandatory for schools to be part of the program. I believe the committee should really consider not only publicizing, but writing to the provincial ministers in order to encourage them that they subscribe to it. This is absolutely outstanding what you're doing.
In terms of cyberbullying, it's sometimes thought that it's quite private information about what's going on in sort of in the bedrooms and stuff. But it's very public information. The students know what's going on. They see it. If any given student you ask about what's going on online, they know who's being picked on. They know who's doing it. But the information isn't being crossed over to the adults of the school.
Simply by shining a light on the problem, often, and we've heard the other witnesses speak about this afternoon, there's an important role of the observers to this activity, especially online. And if you can, shine a light on this activity, and the hint goes out to the people who are observing that it's inappropriate, then you lose the audience. So what's key, the key concept that we're looking at is if we can create a situation where we're, like I say, shining the light on this behavior and being able to point out that it's inappropriate, then often it goes away. So that's why, again, what we're talking about is we feel strongly if we can put this tool out there and give it to children and adolescents to use, they will use it. The school principals, the school staff, there's no one single solution to all of this. They're going to need, a toolbox, as it were, of various approaches to deal with, and they need to have the information and the ability to go to that toolbox when they have any various sort of example of bullying in their circumstance.
The counselor in the school, because of shutting down the website or trying to figure out who was doing it, is almost impossible. She actually went a completely different approach. If you take away the audience, it won't exist anymore. She approached one of the very influential people that were linked to the site as a friend, and she said, hey, do you know what's going on? This is not that person. Can you go on there and tell everyone else, unfriend it, it is not that person? And she did it, and because of the influence that that student had, the other people followed suit. And so essentially, in a cyber world, you can take away, in some incidences, you can take away the audience as well.
But I want to know, how do kids find out about your website? Do you do any kind of, like advertising? Like, how do kids find out that this website exists?
First of all, we have no money for advertising, so that's a quick no.
Because I see that you're a struggling nonprofit, and but going forward with some great work. As my organization started out 11 years ago, in the same process of doing great work, but no funding. That you look at how you can broaden your scope by having representation, and also then look at how you can approach the boards of education. I think it's important that the directors of education get a hold of your information so they can, especially within the urban centers such as Toronto, how again bullying is on the on the increase, and how there's a new director of education that is encouraging more technology and young people getting engaged with this. So I think it's important that you look at how you can speak to them, and somehow if you need some assistance in that, I'll be happy to provide those access for you in terms of just, we need to be able to save lives here, and I think what you have is doing just that. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Senator Tulajan?
Thank you, Chair, and I have to commend you for the invaluable tool that you have provided to youngsters, and where they can come, and because these are the people whose lives are being impacted by bullying. In your statement, you mentioned the fluidity of roles. One child can be an aggressor, a victim, or a bystander. Is there a cycle of abuse where children who are bullied become bullies themselves? If so, what can be done to break the cycle?
Because of the nature of the developmental age of these children, much of what they're doing is impulsive. They don't know yet what the consequences are, and there's a real minimizing of what they're doing. They often don't understand what the implications are of making something that really is quite private, turning it into something that's quite public. And so it really requires the intervention of an understanding adult to help them to understand that, and to, as we heard with some of the earlier witnesses, about developing that good and moral responsibility when you're using the online tools.
I want to thank both of you for coming, and as you can hear from the questions, we are very supportive of your work and grateful that you are doing all this work voluntarily. Mr. Charbonneau here has written a note to me saying that you really are the Crime Stoppers for bullying, and so we wish you well, and we thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We will take a 2-minute break and then go in camera.